The reason we want to tap the influencers and really identify them, which we'll talk about in the building infrastructure, is because 80% of the people who go online are starting at search. So they're over here typing in their keyword, and what comes up in the organic or natural search results are the influencers, the sites that are endorsed or that are most influential because they're getting the most traffic, they're getting the most inbound, outbound links, they're associated the most with the keywords that are going into these search engines. And what a lot of companies do is they actually start over on this side of the spectrum. And they say, okay, we're going to build a site and we want you to come directly to our site. Or we're going to create content and we're going to host it on a microsite, or we're going to host it within a third-party community. But the folks who are going to these sites here are actually going to the content and to the destinations that they're recommending and they're talking about. So how do you get your content and get your story and build your relationship with those influencers? That's the 4 essential elements of conversational marketing. Number 1, listening. So what are the tools and technologies we can use to identify influencers? Number 2, relate. What sort of activities do we have to have in place in order to start to build those relationships? Number 3, create. What content? How do we optimize that content with keywords? How do we know that if we're reaching a community of women that they're actually watching videos versus playing games? And then finally, aggregate. How do you bring together community, people, and content underneath your brand? First, you develop the listening infrastructure. And I'm going to go right into the tools because you asked about the tools. There are a lot of tools out there for measuring globally. And how many of you notice or recognize some of these tools? Some of them, yeah? Okay, good. There are free tools, and then there are subscription services. Subscription services include companies like Visible Technologies, which, full disclosure, is a WPP company. Brand Pulse, which is a technology offered by Nielsen Buzzmetrics, which is a tool that we also use. Radian 6 is another tool for identifying influencers. And those are the tools that you can use to subscribe. What those tools will help you do is measure the quantifiable influence. So how many people are talking about your brand, and who's driving that discussion based on who they're linking to, based on who they are, the traffic that is coming to their site, how that traffic is funneling to them. You said that you were thinking about going online and starting to build some of these relationships. You want to know who these influencers are. Before you do that, you want to think about your digital footprint. And a lot of you have your Facebook account or your Twitter account, and you have to decide whether you're using it for professional or for personal reasons. And really think about how you want to have your brand, your professional brand, as an individual associated with your company, as well as how you're going to use these tools to build relationships over time. It's really important that you communicate back to your peers that they need to use these tools wisely, because a lot of folks don't put their privacy settings on Facebook, or they don't establish some kind of barrier between their personal life and their professional life. And if your brand is associated with their activity, you might have a problem on your hands. And so how do you participate? You need to obviously Google your own name, but decide whether or not you understand that every post, every activity that you do is discoverable. And make sure you use the privacy settings, as well as managing your relationships and making sure you keep up with those relationships. How to optimize your content, because this is really very important aspect of all of this communication. Once you know who the influencers are, you know the conversations that are happening, you're building the relationships and establishing a presence on behalf of your brand or your corporation, and then you're creating content that you're going to share with these influencers. And so, 2 pages of those search results. This is a social media plan that really takes a lot of coordination amongst your marketing your advertising, your PR, and your communications. And it's one of the reasons why we're working with our peers here at Y&R and in our other sister agencies, because everything that you do, all the content that you share with those influencers impacts search results. So if you're thinking about any kind of activity, start with search and how you want your message to come about. We're about to run out of months ago, but I do want to show you, these are all of the activities that we've been doing for Playtex, launching their baby bottles, launching a new diaper genie, and you can see at the bottom here we've done influencer relations or media relations outreach. We've done communities and created digital content. We've hosted events or participated in events at BlogHer and some other very influential. We've videotaped the influencers. So the mommy bloggers who were at these events, we had them come over to our booth and we talked with them about topics that were of interest to them and asked about what it was to be a mom and to be a blogger and to worry about things like the environment and all kinds of topics. And we posted that content on YouTube. Those mommy bloggers, about 30% of them posted that video on their blogs as well and linked back to our YouTube channel. So we were able to start to build that community. This is the Holy Grail. This is what all of you should be looking to do. So the goal is to really create a social media program that is optimized to impact search. Not only search within Google or Yahoo or MSN, but also the search within the vertical search engine. So if you're in healthcare and you're going into WebMD, you type in diabetes, the natural search results there. It can only be influenced, and my peers at Y&R are going to cringe, but it can be only, the editorial aspect of this can be influenced through that relationship building, through the earned media participation. You can do it with more of a mass scale with consumers, and there are some techniques to create really compelling content and really creative content. But one of the ways that we start is by working the relationship and having the earned media placement in order to impact the search results, because the search results will be there far longer. All of these programs were done over a year or 2 years. In the case of Dell, it's been 3 years now. Any activity that you do with social media, you have to recognize first and foremost that it's going to take a massive amount of time. It's going to take a long time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And you have to commit, because once you go in and your brand is in there, you have to make a decision to change the role of your communicators to keep participating. That's really, really important. And don't start with the latest tool or Facebook group or that kind of activity. I think it's really important to start with the relationship building. Any